Hey everybody, that's right, it's the Counselor Curtis Show. I am coming to you almost live. This is a dry run, I'm just checking things out. From my secret location. Produce this whole thing myself, so you gotta give me a break looking at stuff. Listen, I gotta talk to you guys for a few minutes right now about capitalism, okay? Capitalism is very, very important. I'm gonna show you an image here. Look at this. Now, you can find these images anywhere on the internet. They are simply the decline in extreme poverty since 1820 up to 2015. Different metrics they use, but as you can see, there has been a marked decline in extreme poverty and in regular poverty over the last 150 years, 200 years now. And that's capitalism, okay? That's what capitalism does. All capitalism does is it allows people to help other people. That's all it is. It's two people trading their personal value that you get when you're born. That is what your body and your mind can do. Look, people are the greatest resource on this planet. The resources on this planet are literally infinite. Most people don't understand this, but they're literally infinite. People have predicted for millennia that a population increase will use up all the resources. But guess what? We have more people today living than ever before with more wealth than ever before. How is that possible? It's because of people. It's because of people's minds, what people do with the stuff that's here. What we do is we help one another out. And we do that for a profit. Now, the money that people trade back and forth, these paper dollars that you have, it's just a representation of the stuff that you've done or the product that you've dug up out of the ground or whatever it is. The money doesn't have any actual value. It's just a representation of what you do as a person. All right? Let's back up. I want to give you an overarching view of capitalism and the way that wealth is created in the universe, in this universe where you are right now. This is how it happens. Imagine for a minute that you're on the planet Earth, right? And you're the only one there. You're the only one. It's just you. You own the whole place. You can do whatever you want, right? You can run around, you can eat fish, you can destroy stuff. It doesn't matter because it's all up to you, right? Now, imagine there's one other person on the earth. Now, there's two people. Now, you might think at first what you would do is you draw a line down the middle like the equator and you say, look, I'll take the northern hemisphere, you take the southern, I'll take the eastern, you take the west, whatever it is. You divide all the property up and then the two of you get to live. Forget about all man-woman stuff for now. Just imagine two people trying to survive. If the two people decided to live apart, that would be a terrible idea because people can help each other in many different ways. Let me give you an example. Assume for a minute that the two people decided to live right next to each other. Think of the different things that they could help each other with. If there's a big rock I have to move, I can use a lever, but if I have another person, it makes it a lot easier, right? The two people together are actually stronger. The 1 + 1 is greater than 2. There are myriad of examples I could come up with just off the top of my head of ways that two people can do something that two individual people cannot do at all. And you can imagine them right now. I'm sure you can think of a million different things. But I want to get into not just helping each other, but the division of labor. Okay, imagine that one of the two people is great at building shit. Okay, they can build houses, they can build whatever you need. And the other person is really good at catching stuff like hunting and fishing and providing food. Well, then what you do is the one person goes out and hunts and fishes and catches and stuff, and the other person builds stuff, and then they trade, and then both have more than they could have individually, right? The fisher guy could have a bunch of fish if he was just doing that by himself, and the other guy could have a bunch of houses and whatever he needs, but he only needs one, right? So, but the specialization of their labor and their ability to trade back and forth creates wealth for the two of them, all right? It creates wealth out of thin air. Now imagine there's 10 people on this planet, right? Now people start to divide up, right? Instead of a fisherman and who's also a hunter, you have one guy is the hunter and one guy is the fisherman. And that's because if you think about it for just 1 minute, there are many advantages to splitting up the labor. First of all, you could have a natural proclivity for one thing or another. I can't hammer to save my damn life, but I'm great at figuring stuff out, okay? So you put me in that position and you don't give me a damn hammer, all right? And it's the same thing for all the people in the group. Everybody may have some proclivity for something or another, which may be better than the other people. That's just the way that individual strengths work out. But there's more. Think about this. If you send the guy out who's good at fishing to be a fisherman, and that's all he does all day long, guess what? He gets better at it. That he accumulates skill and talent because of time put in. Not only that, he innovates. He'll build a fishing pole and a hook or a net, right? And then these things provide even more resources. Now the fisher guy is not just catching one fish, he's got a net, he's catching a whole bunch of stuff. All right, now you think, what would the other 10 people do? Well, one of them makes nets, right? That's what the other guy does. The two people, the one guy who can make the nets and the guy who can use the net can catch more fish than all the people combined using fishing poles, right? It's a technological innovation, and because the people are allowed to trade their own production, then they can all increase their wealth. All right, that is how wealth gets created. Specialization of labor, technological increase, and skill increase. But you have to have the trading circle open. The broader it is, the more people that are in the trading circle, the more wealth everybody has. If you think about the divisions of labor, and listen, don't worry about AI or anything like that, because labor can be divided up infinitely. And I can prove it. It's very intuitive. You can see right now, think of all the billions of people on this earth that do different things. There's a whole bunch of different jobs. And each job gets divided up further as time goes on. For example, now there's just not a doctor. Now there's an eye doctor or an inner eye doctor, a pupil doctor, right? There's specializations. And these specialized trades workers, again, develop techniques, skills, talents, technology. And if they can trade with one another, then everybody benefits and everybody gets to play in the resource pond. And that is how capitalism provides for everybody doing everything. All right. You guys may have seen this week Neel Kashkari on 60 Minutes. He is a Federal Reserve president person. He's high up in the banks there. You can go back and watch this. Neel, you will see him on 60 Minutes tell everybody that the Federal Reserve has the ability to print infinite cash. Infinite cash, that's what he says. Now look, he's saying this, I'm going to tell you, he's saying this because he's trying to assure people that there's going to be cash available. And they can do that. They can make cash available. What they can't do is keep the price of cash from being devalued. And you can easily imagine if someone tries to print up an infinite amount of money, that very quickly it becomes worthless. I mean, that's the whole premise behind Bitcoin, is that there's a limited amount. There's only going to be 20 million of them. But you're going to have an infinite number of Bitcoins, right? When you talk about a digital currency, that Bitcoin has no value because now there's Ethereum and Litecoin and those other things. So now it does have some value because people are still trading it. And there's always a lingering value, as there is with the dollar right now, even though we took it off its attachment to any real world good now 90 years ago, almost 87 years ago. Since that time, the value of the dollar has dropped precipitously. And you cannot get... Neil's plan, unfortunately, is going to injure everybody who's been saving money, desperately injure them. Now, listen, So there's a big debate right now about whether or not we should reopen the economy. Now, I'm just going to tell you it's going to happen because people are just not going to stay at home. They're going to go back to their routines because humans are creatures of habit, and that's what they're going to do. But I want to assure you that that is actually the correct path. We need to reopen the economy. And this is not a question of money versus lives. This is a question of lives versus lives. The point I'm trying to make in the beginning of this video is that capitalism provides life. It literally provides life. If we were to stay in our shelters for the next 9 months and allow the economy to be destroyed, because that's what would happen if nobody goes out of their homes and spends money, the consequences, the death toll would be on the order of 10 times greater than right now what we're estimating would be the coronavirus death toll. Even if the coronavirus went everywhere and spread everywhere and killed the maximum number of people that it's projected to kill. The economy provides for 6+ billion people right now. And I know they're not all interconnected, but they're pretty well interconnected. And our economy in particular provides for some ridiculous percentage of world trade. And you cannot imagine the number of impoverished people, well, you can, who would be detrimentally impacted by the collapse. And I don't mean just like they are going to be inconvenienced. I'm talking about death. I'm talking about real world problems, because money is, again, a representation of people's productivity. Let me give you an example. Let's say you spent most of your life, let's say you spent a big portion of your life working and saving money, and you got this big pile of cash that you have steadfastly and responsibly saved, and it's in the bank right now. That money is in danger right now of having its purchasing power cut by half, 2/3, 3/4, a big percentage. I bought an apple today, one apple, for $4. Now, it was a big apple, I'll give you that, but it was one apple. Now, anybody in the United States can tell you that that's a ridiculous price for one apple. Go look around the stores. You will see inflation has already hit, and we're not even in the deep. This inflation right here is from the 2008 pumping. What we've done is we have inflated the money supply to a ridiculous amount. And here's the problem. Modern monetary theory, MMT, sucks. All right. This was Milton Friedman's huge mistake in his wonderful, otherwise awesome book, Free to Choose. He had one paragraph, one chapter in it that was ridiculous and doesn't even fit in the book. You're like, where did this come from? And what he says in there is unfortunately, he caves on all of his principles. And he says the central government should be in charge of money supply. The central government is not a thing. The central government is some people. It's Neil Kashkari and his friends. It's just a small group of people. You can't put a small group of people in charge of the value of the dollar, which effectively changes one side of every single contract denominated in dollars around the globe. That affects trillions of dollars of value, and you just can't put that trust into any group of people. You have to allow the market to act. The market is, again, the collective intelligence of all of us, because it's all of us acting. When you have a central control, like we do with the Fed and the other central governments around the world, you get dumb decisions made because there's not enough brain power going into the decision. They need to harness the brain power of everyone. And the way that you do that is through freedom. You allow people to act, and then you allow them to rise or fall based on how well they did with their predictions and how well they did with their estimations. We have to not have bailouts. You have to be able to contract for anything that you want. Let the banks risk whatever they want to risk. Let the credit default swap people, let them do whatever they want to do. But don't bail them out. If somebody fails, if Boeing buys back all their stock instead of saving for a rainy day, Let them fail. The planes won't disappear. There'll be a restructuring, and we'll still have resources. But we simply can't continue to turn to the government in times of crisis, because it's a deal with the devil. The more they give out, every time they give you something, they have to take it from somewhere else. And as you've seen this week from the fiasco in them trying to pass the relief bills, they're trying to jam it with all kinds of stuff that they want to put in there, because they know this is the time to get stuff through, because this is the least objectionable time for whatever kinds of programs that you want. Now is the time more than ever that we need unfettered capitalism. Now we need pure capitalism. This is the only way to unleash the power of the people. And it is the responsible thing to do. It is the righteous, moral thing to do. And to go the other way, to start price controls and all these different things, will just cause chaos everywhere. Let me give you an example. Licensing. Licensing sucks. Okay, licensing, here's how you know licensing sucks. If you want to get your palm read, you go down to the local palm reader, she's going to have a license on the wall. There's going to be a license right there on the wall. They actually charged that person money. Maybe even gave him a test, right? For the safety of the public or something. Because they don't want her or them out there practicing palm reading without a license. And that's how you know it's on its face ridiculous. But there's other indications. Every licensing pyramid begins with somebody who doesn't have a license. That is, every license that's ever been given out was given out by an authority who got their license from somebody else, who got their license from somebody else, except at the top of that chain, there's some person who just said, I don't need a license. I'm good. I can tell you, if you trace it back far enough in history, and it's not that very far, it's like tens of years, you will find the beginnings of all these associations, all the licensing associations around the nation, of which they're replete now in everything. And at the very first people there knew they didn't need a license. They were just adults. They were responsible adults. As an adult, you have to do the right thing. You don't get to say you're sorry if you mess up. You have to do the right thing, and you accept the consequences, good or bad. It doesn't matter if you have a license. That's not the defining factor. All licensing could be turned into certifications. And you want to see if someone has a certification. If that makes you feel better, great. Then you can hire that person. If they have a whole bunch of certifications that makes you feel great, that's a perfectly good use of certifications. But don't make it licensing. Let me give you an example of how licensing is throttling the crisis right now. There are thousands, tens of thousands of doctors in training who would have graduated in May this year from doctor school or taken their boards right now. There's a whole bunch of people who are on the cusp of getting their medical license. All those people right now could be helping out in this medical crisis. But we don't allow that. We don't want them out there. Ostensibly, it's to protect people, right? We don't want somebody who doesn't know what they're doing out there doing stuff, right? But couldn't we allow all these people to do the minor stuff? How about the stuff that's non-COVID related? Setting broken bones and drawing blood and doing stuff that would take the pressure off of the other people who have to deal with the more serious things. The answer is yes, we could. You don't need licensing to protect people. Licensing makes us all unequal. It's a privilege that you have to pay some other person. You can think of it as a state if you want, but it's just some other guy. Some other person is in charge of you, and you have to pay them to get into the club, and then you can go out and do business. And that is entirely un-American, and it needs to be done away with. And it's been done away with in the past. We had an entire mercantile system hundreds of years ago in Britain. The entire thing finally collapsed, as hopefully our system of licensing will collapse. And what I would suggest is everybody just convert it to certifications, and then that's fine. But nothing mandatory at all. If I want a doctor, an unlicensed doctor, to work on me, that should be my choice. I should bear the risk. And that's the way that freedom works. Let me give you another example. Price controls. We've seen this week, this month, I just took a picture today. I was going to put it up. I forgot to. Of the shelves in our local Publix grocery store. No toilet paper. Not a square anywhere. Why is this? Why is this? You know why? Price controls. If Publix were allowed to charge $10 a roll, people would not hoard. But Publix can't do that. They can't do that. I'm sure there's a rule against it. I'm sure there's a law against it. Not only that, you can't have entrepreneurial people go in and buy a whole bunch of them and then sell them on eBay. And there's some people I know who are like, oh my God, that's terrible. That's horrible. You're scalping people. You're gouging people. Yes, but you're ensuring the supply of the item. Amazon this week shut down 3,900 accounts of people trying to resell items that they had hoarded. In other words, Amazon prevented millions of people from getting their product that they wanted at a price they were willing to pay. Because Amazon thought the price was too high. Actually, Amazon's just CYA and they're covering their asses because they don't want to get sued or implicated in any of the gouging. But that's again because of some kind of law. And it's just ridiculous. If you want to ensure the supply of stuff, allow the price to float. There is simple supply and demand economics. Everybody learned in first year college economics if you took it. And that is the way you ensure supply. You have to allow prices to float. If you fix the prices, you ensure shortages. See Venezuela. I'll give you another example. Patents. There are all these restrictions on drugs. We have this massive approval. That's a regulation. That's different. But patents are stupid. All they do is protect somebody who runs down to the patent office first and puts the idea in there. It doesn't provide any innovation. Yes, it is a boon to R&D. It is a boon to R&D, but it's a drag on distribution that outweighs the boon to R&D. A much better system is just freedom. You just let people develop what they're going to develop, and you let them manufacture what they're going to manufacture, and you let them fight it out in the market. The fastest one to get their product out there gets the sales. That is the service that you're providing. So patents could be removed. Regulation has stopped us from allowing our private companies in this country to develop coronavirus tests, if you can believe that. They had tons of tests over in South Korea, and South Korea's number hasn't changed of infected. Their numbers of infected hasn't changed in 3 weeks because they tested a whole bunch of people, quarantined the ones who were sick, and they allowed widespread testing through their private healthcare system. We don't have that here. So unfortunately, we didn't get the private sector involved. This is just another way that if we didn't have all these regulations, people's lives would be saved. All right, it's about saving lives. You can't have a blanket restriction on things. It doesn't work. It sucks. Labor laws the same way. Wage laws the same way. Look, freedom engages all of us. If we let freedom help us out during this time, we will be much better. If we embrace capitalism, we're going to be much better off. In fact, it's the only way to get out of this situation, really, because we've taken a big hit, and we need to get back to sound money. They need to attach the money to some type of good. Just allow people to do it. Again, freedom is the way to do it. All you do is just allow whoever wants to coin their own money. People will only use it if they think that it's safe. You let them rise or fall with the risk. Freedom is the way to go. So I'm just urging people in this time of crisis, don't rely on the government, because the government takes power in times of crisis. They will take care of you, but it's a deal with the devil. And in the long term, we won't be better off. We'll be better off if we rely on each other. And that is capitalism. So I'm Counselor Curtis. I hope this has been somewhat entertaining. I'll see you soon. We'd like to say thank you to Kevin MacLeod for providing these awesome music tracks. Thank you very much, Kevin.